What is up, everybody? It's the Nightcap, JT. We're here. We're live. As my guest would say, I have a very extra special guest tonight. I think you guys all know who he is. Let's hit the intro and we'll get right to it.
Let's go.
Chris the Candyman, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing well, doing better every day. Thanks for having me on, JT.
Oh yeah. My pleasure, man. My pleasure. We can talk for a second. I'm gonna go ahead and jump over here. I know sometimes those 30-second BBM lobbies can take a second, so we'll get you into it real quick. 30-second one in 3, 2, 1. If anybody would like to hop in there with us. So how'd your stream go earlier? I saw that you were streaming. I wasn't able to watch it because we got so me and my oldest daughter, we kind of got this thing we started doing this summer where once her littler sisters go to bed, she's getting older where she can watch big person shows, shows that are actually entertaining to dad now. And so we kind of watch a show in between the time I start streaming and they go to bed and everything. But I did see you were on. How'd your draft go?
It went good. It went pretty good. Just a schnauzer. So just getting some more volume in. I think it was like my 10th schnauzer too. But it went fine. Yeah, man. Quality time, very important. Got to make time for hanging out with the kiddos.
For sure.
And making sure they feel involved and all that kind of stuff. So definitely good stuff. Looks like here we're in the
it already filled, huh? It's snap filled. I'm not used to that. Sometimes they can take a while. We are in the 8 hole. I don't know. You probably know the names better than me. I do recognize the guy in the 1 hole's name. Actually, I just got a notification right before it started that he subbed to my channel. Maybe you brought him along with you. Either way, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Shout out to David in the 1 hole.
David, is that his name?
You got David Lutomsky. I see Lulsimo in the 6.
Okay.
I recognize Blaze, but I haven't drafted with that person in a while. It's always fun to see names in here. I've been kind of, over the years drafting. There's people I've never talked to, never said a word to, never seen them on Twitter, nothing, but I've seen them in these draft rooms, year in, year out in these tournaments. So it's Underdog's kind of like a funny community in that way.
Yeah, I know how it is. I'm trying to learn them. Some of them I'm starting to recognize. Of course, the guys we talk to a lot and stuff like that. Definitely. What you like to do here from the 8 hole? Are you running back, reach down for a receiver? Who you
Gibbs
like?
all day.
Gibbs all day. I have no problem with Gibbs. Let me see. I'm still trying to learn this best ball overlay tool thing too. Right now, see, it's got set up hold on, let me flip it back to the board. I need to go over on a different tab and redo. I guess every time you go to a different type of draft, you have to kind of refresh the best ball overlay tool. Is that what goes on?
So pretty much what I do is I'll either select the all tournaments option, or if you're doing something very specific like an eliminator, you can just do the eliminator exposure. Or sometimes if you just want to focus on the Best Ball Mania, you can switch to the Best Ball Mania tournament exposures. And then as soon as you draft your very first player, Gibbs, you hit the refresh on the entire web browser just for that Underdog tab.
And then it'll switch.
And then it'll just update to your player combo tool, which pops up in the middle there on your other page. If you hit exit off the board, and you go to so then there, if you refresh right now, we'll see the player combo tool pop up in the middle and it'll say Gibbs. And then we can search through and show
Okay.
all the
Well,
combos.
I think I had get that player tool turned off just because I didn't really
Oh,
like that thing. I mean, I'll
gotcha.
turn it on every now and then. The
Yeah.
problem I was having was like, well, there it goes. Now it seems like if I don't go over and extract the teams each time, like if I move from an eliminator over to like a regular style draft,
Mhm.
it almost seems like I got to go do the extract thing over each
Did
time.
so I
I
don't
don't like.
use the extract function. Have you uploaded your CSV to it before?
Yes, I did that
Okay.
once. We're on the clock though. Let's go ahead and make the pick and we can
Yeah.
talk through it more.
So traditionally
Um,
here, I like to go with either AJ Brown or Lad McConkey. I like both of those combos with Gibbs a lot. So I'm down for either one, Brown or McConkey. I like them both.
I'm down on that.
Let's
I
do it.
haven't really been that into Brown lately.
Yeah.
Just I mean, you can see I'm at 3%. I don't know. I mean, I know he's a great player still and all, but the way last year they just kind of seemed very content to, use their defense, run the ball. We could be wrong, right? They could come out this year and be more of a throwing team than a passing team. I guess, prefer Lad over Brown in that spot. So since you like both, I guess we'll go with Lad.
I like both. I like Lad. I think the sky is the limit for Lad, but we've also seen AJ Brown do it before. The
Oh,
counterpoint,
for
like
sure.
you were saying, when we're looking at fantasy one year to the next, is it status quo or what has changed? And when I looked at the 2024 versus the 2023 and previous year Eagles, something changed. They added Saquon Barkley. It changed their entire offense. They were already a run heavy team, but now they have this new engine in the offense. They don't
Mhm.
need to rely on Hurts to throw the ball or AJ Brown to carry the team. They can lean on Barkley. They can get it done in the ground game. And so I do fully understand the perspective, or at least I try to, of like why you would be more out on AJ Brown. I always just kind of come back to he might just be the wide receiver one in week 17. And at that he can do it. It's possible. It's in the range of outcomes. And if that's a possibility, then I don't want to be out on a player who could achieve that.
Yeah, and I totally get it, and I don't know where I'll end up. It's definitely not a full fade. I take him more when he falls. Like when you're
Mhm.
here, because me myself, I don't take that much Bucky at all.
Okay.
Now that Rasheed Rice is into the late second round, I'm not really super into that. It's kinda like when Brown gets right here with Higgins, then it's kind of a toss-up to me, it's like, okay, if JT's gone, I like JT over Higgins and Brown. If
Okay.
JT's gone and I'm right there in, say, 2021, that's when I'll kinda take one of those 2.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of really solid picks in the early and mid round two, and then there's some good and some bad picks kind of in the 2-3 turn. Uh, I think a lot of the picks, like I'll just throw out a name, Marvin Harrison. Maybe he's completely overrated. Maybe he's completely overpriced. But if you want any of him at all, you're gonna have to take him where he goes or hope that
Mhm.
he falls. I've taken Marvin Harrison around pick like 30 and 31 before, so he falls there sometimes, but sometimes you see him going, stuck on the corner because of the week 17 correlation with the Bengals picks, whether it's T or Jamar Chase. So I think he's pretty expensive. I would rather take like a Devontae Adams or possibly even a Mike Evans over him straight up, but just to get my exposures a little bit more evened out, I will occasionally take Marvin Harrison.
Okay, I think we briefly touched on that when I was on your channel. You do try to even out your exposures then?
Generally, unless there's just like a really, really good pick, but early on, especially early
Mhm.
in these rounds, I try to make sure, unless like, and I don't think I know better than the market or everyone else, and I don't think I have any
Oh, yeah,
insider
none of us
information,
do.
but unless there's a player that I think is really mispriced, or if like, for instance, I've been pretty bullish on Alvin Kamara. I'll take Alvin Kamara ahead of like 10 different players that go ahead of him almost every time because I just know Alvin Kamara is good for fantasy football. And I think there's a lot of players in that range that are speculative.
So what are you thinking here? We could go like down to Evans. We could go McLaurin and see if we can get Jaden
I
to
do
come
like
back.
Evans. So we have Gibbs, of course, and then McConkey. I don't mind Kyron. I like Kyron. I like Brees. I like Evans. I like McLaurin. I kind of think we probably want to go receiver, and we're in a good range. Let's take McLaurin, or let's do Evans. Let's do Evans. Evans is a
Ah,
good
okay,
kicker.
my bad.
No. The last second, I was just thinking, maybe we go
Mhm.
McLaurin just to go ahead and pull the trigger on Daniels because, like, where we are on the board, it's kind of a logical spot that you can usually get Daniels there, and
Well,
so.
that's what I was thinking kind of at first too then, but I didn't. I don't know. Sorry.
But I like the Evans pick a lot because he is a receiver that can still even at this point in his career, he can still dominate weeks. So I like him a lot. And then it gives us another out at QB. But I will say I haven't been taking a lot of Baker Mayfield. I think he's pretty expensive.
I agree. I agree. Although I did just tell myself the other night, and I was talking about it, I think Monday, that like I do want to get some Baker because I realized so like part of my like the reason I ask, I guess, with your evening out of exposures is just because like I'm kind of the opposite. I don't know. I guess somebody told me it's technically classified as a right wing slappy versus a left wing slappy nowadays. I guess BBG made that up or something, or at least he was. That's what I was told. but
BBG likes to think he made that up, I'm sure. Shout out to BBG.
but uh but anyways, like I don't worry about my exposures, but I pay attention to them. Let's make this pick and then I'll explain more. Because yeah, we would have got Daniels to come back. We have the two receivers. See anything that's jumping out at you here that you like? I like Cook. I don't know if you want to go running back here or hold off more.
I haven't been taking as much Cook. Maybe it's more about the contract stuff. At pick 41, I'm cool with Worthy, Metcalf. I'm cool with Smith. If we think we can get Hurts to come back around, would be kind of fun. Let me think about it real
Hmm.
quick. I think I'm cool with just going Worthy there and letting it ride.
We'll just go Worthy then. He was the top one on the board.
Yeah.
Then we can try to start. So like here's my whole thing and like I don't know. Again, just like you said, none of us are right, none of us are wrong. It's all going to play out. We'll eventually see who's right and wrong, but no one has the answers now. And just my I guess way that I like to draft is like I'm definitely a go get my guys. I'm not afraid
Yep.
to have really high percentages on people, and I'm not afraid to have zeros on people. Now, that said, when I say go get my guys, I'm not, reaching way, way ahead of ADP. I still try to
Sure.
get my guys within good value. And so, I don't stream on Saturday nights. And one thing that I generally do on Saturday nights is I'm really kind of looking over my portfolio and making sure, all right, like, wow, this guy, I'm getting up to 28% of him. Is he a guy that I really want 28% of? Because you know how
Yeah.
it is. Sometimes you end up with a high percent of a guy just because he's an easy click, but you don't necessarily feel that strongly about him. You just kind of end up that way. And so, like, I'm always kind of reevaluating because if it's a guy that I definitely want to be super in on like that, then I'm okay with it. So,
It makes sense. I go back and forth over the years. 2023, I was somewhat balanced in my exposure, but I had hard fades. And, you know, process versus results, I got lucky with some results. I had 0% Aaron Rodgers and 0% Nick Chubb in 2023. They both got season-ending injuries and were terrible picks at cost, but I got lucky. I was just fading them because at that point I just kind of had decided I was out on them. So that was kind of
yeah.
a luck in results. But over the years, I've refined my process to say I don't think I know better. I don't think I can predict when a player's career is going to end. I'm not here to say this is Mike Evans' cliff. He's going to fall off. If a
Hmm.
player does show that after injury they do fall off, I try to take that information in. It's like, so thinking back to like Amari Cooper, he didn't have a great year last year. I'm pretty out on Amari Cooper. I probably won't draft him at all, based on the wrist injury. that could be the excuse. Okay, well, he had a bad season because of the wrist injury. Maybe he comes back from it, or maybe he just never gets fully back to full strength and he's just kind of done. I don't know. Playing with Josh Allen, you think it would go well, and it didn't go well at all. So there's still players where I'm not afraid to full fade or mostly fade, but I do, just in my current process, try not to be too exposed. And this is just me doing some learning from even last season. So here, I think Waddle's a great pick. It
I'm
goes
about to
with
say
our Mike Evans.
Tampa. Yeah.
That's one consideration. The other player I like here would be probably Kamara. But what's our next pick? So if we have 56, I think, are we like 60?
Yeah, 65.
Let's see if a running back comes back around. I like the way the running backs have been coming back around to pick 65. I'm cool with getting Waddle here, and it's a fun piece, another receiver,
Oh yeah.
for what we built out.
A bring
But
back
so
to Evans. Another
yeah,
cheap QB late if we kind of get boxed out,
exactly.
we can.
Exactly. So last year I took a pretty strong position on Nico Collins. I had him ranked as a first round player. He was going in the second round. So I ended up with 39% Nico Collins. And it was really good until the injury. And then it wasn't so good for 6 weeks. And then it wasn't so good. And a 60-yard touchdown pass gets called back for holding on number 74 again and again and again. And so, like, those things kind of hurt. And so what I've kind of come to realize about that and just my own process is, even if my player take is right, anyone can get injured in any week. And, some guys get injured more than others, but it's hard to predict. And then that's kind of where I've taken the same learning and said, I have no idea when a player is going to stop caring about football and age cliff hits. It's such small sample sizes for all these things, and all these players are unique. So I just try to, I try to be a little bit more balanced than maybe I was in the past, but at the same time, it's easy for me to also think players are like overrated or overpriced at certain spots.
Mm-hmm. No, I hear you, and that's, I guess so. I kind of drafted very similar last year. I guess the biggest change for me this year versus last year is, of course, like everyone probably does, when the season was over. I took some time and looked back and kind of seen, okay, where did I go wrong? Where did I go right? And last year I clearly wasn't streaming, but I
Mhm.
also wasn't doing the every week real deep dive on my own exposures and like really making sure, like, okay, is this what I want to be doing at this part of the draft when I'm at this turn? Is this really what I want to be doing? And I think the biggest lesson I learned in that, which kind of led me to tweak how I go back and evaluate things on a weekly basis pretty much now this year, is the whole Barkley thing. I remember I hated the 1-2 turn players, and I was getting different. And oh damn, there went Kamara. We're on
That's
the
all right.
clock.
I
Let's
I I'm,
see.
I would typically go Harvey here based on my ranks, and I still think he's a good pick. I know he's falling a little bit. The only other consideration I've got here is if we should do Addison, which gets us another strong receiver, a guy that can spike, and gives us a bring back for Gibbs. So I'm open to either Addison or Harvey here.
I'm good with Addison. I haven't drafted Harvey yet. Like, I don't know. I probably should have took him before the Dobbins thing when he looked like a better pick. I didn't
Mm.
really take it. I'm not as into him as everybody else. I did take him a couple times in the draft. I was doing DraftKings with the big board or pre-draft stuff. It was
Mm-hmm.
before I kind of moved over here to Underdog, but especially once I moved over, and I took him a couple times even post draft, I think, on DraftKings. But by the time I moved over to Underdog this year, his price was already at a point where I just
Yeah.
really didn't like him. And then about the time I was reconsidering, well, should I get in on him? That's when the Dobbins rumors started up, and I don't know. I'm sure I'll click him a couple times at some point, but maybe he'll fall a little more for me or whatever. Uh, Real quick, I'm just gonna shout out some of the people in here.
Yep.
uh, I saw Cody said he came over and dissed BBG. Thank you, my man. I appreciate that. Jeremy showing up. Nick, what's going on? I see some new faces in here. Thank you for the sub, Pete. We appreciate it. I'm here just about every night starting at 10 o'clock. So when my man Chris is done, y'all can just hop on over here, finish your night with me. Hartman, he's always here. My boy Mark, very loyal supporter, disbanded. Appreciate you guys. If you haven't hit the like already, hit the like. We're going to skip over some just because you guys are showing us a little too much love. And I want to make sure we get back to winning this 2 million. What's
Oh
up,
yeah,
Bengals?
we're locked in.
I don't know. Evans basically had the same target pace as the year before, just missed 3 to 5 games. Yo, Al Boogie. But yeah, so that was kind of my biggest takeaway from last year was I needed to I'm still okay, I guess like I was saying, having my big takes on people. As the summer goes on, it'll even out a little more. I've been doing a whole lot or a good amount of eliminators and super flexes too. So my percentages on like the regular style drafts are over probably a littler sample size. The regular puppy had filled pretty much right after I moved over to Underdog. And I'm
Mhm,
not
mhm,
really doing a ton of BBMs this year. Like
mhm.
probably outside of all the ones I stream with people, there's just I tell people I'm like a kid in a candy store. Being the new Underdog guy, I've been drafting heavy on DraftKings the last
Yeah.
2 years. And with all the different contests, different price points, different structures, really am, man. It's like a kid in a candy store because on DK everything's the same, right? Like same setup. It's a little different price points, but everything's gonna be the same structure.
No, it makes sense. There's a lot of fun tournaments on Underdog. I probably, I've dabbled in all of them over the years, but then I come to a point where it's like I pick and choose. Like I'm not going to draft a single weekly winners this year. I didn't do one last
Mm-hmm.
year. I did one in 2023 when it was brand new, and I just didn't end up liking it that much. Just not my tournament. But so here, I mean, I would probably lean Aaron Jones or Pacheco. Let me see. We're pretty good at receiver. Any
Yeah,
other
we can
running
definitely
backs?
hold off.
Yeah.
No, I mean, not now. No other running backs that we can't get later, on the way back if we really wanted to, or we could hit quarterback. That'll be about the time that I know ideally you don't want running back but for what it's worth, it gives us a double running back week 17 game, but then we also have Addison too. So it's just kind of loading up that game even more.
Yeah, just loading up that game, making a team bet on the Vikings. And I think it's about time for this build that a second running back comes in. Could be nice because we're going to pivot over to QB at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But we're still good. And then, man, I don't know why, but I was hoping Downs might come back around. Downs has been flying up the board.
He has since the Jones stuff taking over for AR.
And all of the Josh Downs fans have come out of the woodwork and are just touting him all over best ball Twitter, and he just continues to
Mm-hmm.
rise. So
And I've taken him some, but like I kind of feel like the forgotten guy too might be, old Pittman or
Pittman,
whatever, because like if you think back to when like somebody made a good point. I wish I could remember who said it. Let's make this pick and then we'll talk about it.
sure.
So Hawks here, you can see I'm getting a pretty nice percentage of Hawkinson, or we can just go ahead and grab one of our QBs that stack up. If we
I,
did the Baker thing, I mean, we have Evans, and then we also
yeah.
have Waddle on the backside of that game. Or if you're more of a
I'd
Mahomes
rather push
guy,
QB. I'd rather
push.
hit running back here or even wide receiver. The running backs not the best range. Let's look at the wide receivers again, and let's queue up Hawkinson. And if we don't take Hawkinson, we can get. I mean, I would consider Pittman here as well. We don't have to take him though, but Hawkinson or Pittman, I'm cool with Hawkinson.
Let's go ahead and get Hawkinson. It keeps building to that game,
Yep.
and that could very well be just a nuts game. And I love Hawkinson. I actually have a little my guy cut up of him, but I kind
Yeah.
of save those for when we don't have a extra special guest present.
Love it. I was contemplating there. It's like, we didn't absolutely need another wide receiver at this point. Running back, I would, personally, I would love to go like Jordan Mason there. But we just took Aaron Jones. So
Mhm.
in this universe, in this draft,
Yeah, no, no,
we're making
no.
the
Not
bet
not
on Aaron Jones being the guy this time. And so going back and forth. And then I don't think
our
it's worth
guys are healthy.
reaching up for any of those other running backs who are available. A lot of them have been falling, in my opinion. Even Cam Scatterbo, who I'm a huge fan of, he has been falling into the mid 102,
Mhm.
105
Sometimes.
range. He's not necessarily going right at pick like 98 unless you're drafting with Steve from the one spot every time.
Yeah, Steve will definitely snag him up. Nick's
I,
liking the draft.
yeah, shout out to Nick. I thought about going Mahomes or Baker for a second, but then I just think back to we can replace these QB points later on in the draft. I like the way we've set it up. There's a certain quarterback, and I'll put it in the private chat, that I'm pretty high on that has been easy to get, I think. And it's an obvious one, but if we can land this guy later around ADP or when it makes sense, he's one that I like. Another one I like is that QB as well. And so I think we'll have shots on both of those guys, and they go at a range that's more. It's a little bit friendlier of a range to get a QB than up here in the top 100 spots, where I think
Mhm.
Mayfield and Mahomes are just, the opportunity cost is a little bit higher, and in any given week, I think the ceiling scoring is more similar to some of these guys who go later. So
Yeah, no, for sure, and we still have some good options, open too. We do have the Minnesota stuff. Clearly not for like our first QB or anything, but let's see. Well, we got your boy to come back. You like him here? Third running back. You want to grab
I
him?
think it makes sense. Let's take a quick look at this team. I mean, I would take Higgins over him right now. I think Higgins is the pick at the moment, the current flavor. Even though we've got 5 wide receivers, I'm feeling pretty strongly about Higgins. I think he's going to be that wide receiver 2 on the Texans, and I mean,
Hey,
it's
you don't have to convince me. I got 20% of him. Yeah, I'm with you. I think, he's not gonna have any pressure. You got Nico there. It's obviously still gonna be the main focal point of the defense. He's big and fast. He's gonna be a good red zone target.
oh yeah,
And he's a bring back for Lad too.
exactly.
No, I'm liking it.
That and
22. Yeah.
the more I think about it, there are a lot of rookies that I want to get frequently in this range, whether it's Trey Harris, Luther Burden,
Mm-hmm.
um, or Higgins, and so I'm sprinkling them in on many of my teams, and I'll just kind of take whatever, of whichever of those guys kind of makes sense in each of those builds. So I who knows, maybe one of those guys hits, maybe a few of them do, but I think it's a perfect risk reward range around pick 100 or 100 plus for that kind of talent.
Yes, sir. And hey, that was might have turned out to be a really nice call because we actually might get your boy on a discount. I'd almost say go ahead and grab him if he holds one more pick now. Is that what you're thinking?
I'm pretty in. I'm pretty
Oh,
in.
never mind.
He
Yeah,
goes.
he
It
just jumped.
happens.
You like
So
any of these running
let
backs?
me get your thoughts on and it looks like based on your exposures, you're pretty out on Najee and ETN. I'm curious about, would Najee work in this build? We're making out a team bet on the Chargers, or you think
We
just Hampton's the
we
guy?
can
You'd
go
rather go with
ETN.
like
I'm okay.
Charbonnet or
I'm okay taking ETN if you like him.
I think. Let me see our bye weeks real quick on running back. I think it'll work out. I don't think it matters too much yet.
Well, we kind of
We've
got
got
pushed on the
Gibbs with the
clock,
8,
but
and then Aaron Jones with the 6. So I think it's fine.
he'll be all
ETN
right.
has been rising, and they're gonna have a role for him. maybe last year was kind of fluky. Maybe he can handle a big workload again. I think the risk of Travis Etienne completely getting benched and losing all snaps is I don't think it's incredibly high, but there is a talented rookie, a fast rookie there behind him. Tank Bigsby was serviceable last year, but then the
Mm-hmm.
comparison would be like, do we go Najee over him? Najee is very volume dependent, and that could be, and for the Chargers, that could work out. He could have that Gus Edwards role. He's just hitting touchdowns and falling in, but
I'm a big Hampton guy. I
I know
can't draft Najee, I don't think. I think if he was a little cheaper, maybe. So my
a
thing with
little cheaper.
ETN, one, remember, like I said, I kind of been doing a lot of super flex and eliminators lately. Just in general too, and not necessarily the regular style tournaments. So my percentages are a little, on a small sample size, but I hadn't drafted him earlier in the year because, I had also hadn't been in on Tootin, but I was actually earlier in the year when everybody was drafting Tootin, I was drafting a lot of Tank because I was like, well, Tank was the one that was good there last year. And even in a world where the coaches really love Tootin, Tank's probably still the goal line back at least. But now, like within the last week or so, I've opened up more to ETN between the like good coach speak that the coaches were giving him, and kind of seems like they are into him. They're not trading him, and then you kind of pair that with at the same time there was the end of OTA or whatever the report came out that the other random dude was ahead of Tootin in pass work or something like that. So it's like, oh, well, maybe ETN is going to be pretty useful.
It wouldn't surprise me like too much. But I do like to bet on young talent. It's just sometimes you got to be sensible. Sometimes the mantra I've been hearing is, hey, just take a Jaguars running back on every team, and just eventually one of them should work out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They're all fairly decently priced anyways, and we needed a running back in that range that has the upside to be a top guy in a backfield. So I think it made a ton of sense for us.
We got 6 receivers. There's a receiver I really like on the board, but I also
Did
think maybe
that
here's a
quarterback
spot.
go? I didn't see. Did I miss it?
He did. He did.
Son of a bitch.
We could go McCarthy. I don't know if you're into him. He's the only one that's
I think we start locking up our QBs, and let me take a look at so go ahead and load up McCarthy, and then let me take a quick look at the running backs just to make sure there's anyone there. No, I think we start locking up these, and then receiver real quick. I think it's going to be McCarthy, but is there anyone there? No, not at all. So we grab McCarthy here, and then maybe we could have pushed McCarthy and taken a different guy there, but I think we just have so many of those players, so many of those pieces already with the Vikings that's like our strongest bet right now. I was thinking maybe because the Justin Jefferson drafters on our left on the inside of the board, maybe we go Stroud there and then take McCarthy on the way back. But at the same time, the bet we're making with Stroud and Higgins is a lot of a weaker connection than what we already had built out with McCarthy and Jones and Hawk and Addison, right? So,
well, see, man, we should have maybe talked a few seconds earlier, because actually what I was going to suggest, but he just went too, but I didn't have enough time to really get it all out. And you wouldn't necessarily want both of them because they were both on the same bye week. But I was going to say we could have took Kirk there because I think he's underpriced. And then that would have given us either McCarthy or CJ possibly coming back to us. Either one we would have had to double stack on. But, oh, well, we move on.
And so we don't have any Packers in this one. Can I see our team real quick?
No, but there's some late guys we could do.
That's true. I just saw Dobbs. Which is our receivers is McConkey, Evans, and then it goes
Worthy, Waddle,
Addison,
and Higgins.
Hawk.
And then
so
we have
I would take CJ Stroud here unless you think it's worth risking and pushing for Tua later. I guess they have the same buy, right?
Yeah,
so that's one consideration.
Unless
and
we
just QB build anyways. I don't hate it though.
I mean,
I think we can still work with that.
We'll just throw on a third QB, maybe like a, I don't know. You want to go Stroud?
I kind of do. I don't really know who else is there that we'd feel that strongly about. It's
I'm
going to be
okay with
tough to
Stroud.
backstack Love with any type of real draft capital at this point.
We could always throw Schultz on there for a double or something.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about Schultz. I think they've been trying to replace him for a few years now, and they just seem like they can't draft any talented tight ends. But
No, I
he is
agree, and
free,
and I don't take him when I don't have Stroud, but
right?
if I have Nico, I don't worry about it, necessarily. But like in this case, on a team where I have Stroud with Higgins and I don't get Kirk or something, if I need, a tight end in his range, I'll throw him on there.
Yeah. Disbanded asked earlier. I don't know if you already answered him, but I was curious too. I just thought of this. Which show were you watching before your stream?
I talked about it the other night. So I let my daughter pick. It's new this summer. My daughter's going into ninth grade, my oldest one. So she's a freshman. And, I let her pick from appropriate things. And we're not really big with keeping up with the newest stuff out. We just watch all our stuff off Netflix around here. But she picked that show, The Blind Spot, the girl with the tattoos everywhere. And it tells like the FBI like some clues and stuff like that.
Hmm,
I don't know. It's okay. It's not my favorite show ever, but she's really into it right now. So most
gotcha,
nights we watch one of those before I hop on here.
gotcha. I haven't heard of that, but I also every I you know I don't know what's going on in the world.
I don't watch much TV. Me and my wife have a few shows we watch together, and the only TV I really watch by myself is sports. So
Same. I only watch live sports. I don't really watch any TV. And even
but
then,
like
I
you
find
said, we
myself
gotta
it's hard to keep up. You got Stanley Cup, the NBA Finals, and it's like half the time I just it's all right,
sorry by the way, disbanded if I missed that comment earlier. I'll get better at that. I'm pretty good with the comments when it's just me. Sometimes when I get to talking with like a guest or something, it's still hard for me to keep up with both.
That's what
I'm
it's
new
all about,
here.
though. It's all about just getting carried away in the conversation, talking some ball, drafting some teams. You know, never a dull moment. Let's see what we got lined up for this next one. So 152 and two is there, and we have Waddle with Evans. My mind goes immediately there. I
That
just don't
makes a
know what else
lot of
we would
sense.
have QB wise
I
all,
guess I'll
all the way out.
and it's week 6 when we have our bye week, so hopefully he can at least make it through that. You want to just go ahead and do it?
Can make it through that. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, I think I
I
think
just mean like injury wise. You always got to be worried whenever you have Tua. Like
no
he's
doubt.
one concussion away from missing like the whole year.
So now we've got three QBs. Do we still have three running backs? Is that where we're at? Yeah, with those three,
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
pretty good about those three. And we've got six strong receivers, no issues there. And then the tight end, we have Hawk early, so we feel nice about that. So far, yeah, I
Let
think
me
I think we're in a
see.
good spot. We can chill, obviously, on the QB situation. We can see what comes around to us later at tight end. There's plenty of good late tight ends. Now we can kind of hammer running backs and then wait for that one opportune receiver. I'm not sure who it is yet, but something's gonna come to us at the right moment. It'll be a receiver. We'll be able to pounce on the value, scoop someone up. Probably looking at
Mhm.
the running backs for a couple picks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was thinking the same thing too. I was just kind of bouncing around, making sure there wasn't some crazy value on the board.
Definitely.
So,
Hmm.
assuming he stays, let's see. I don't think any of those guys are on the board. I don't know. Talk to me about Roshan. Have you been into him?
Actually, I was just talking with the guys earlier about Roshan. I need to move him back down in my ranks. Let's make this pick. I think okay, obviously we're not going Bigsby. We could do Jalen Wright, would be kind of a nice pick to go with Tua, although he doesn't really catch balls, but it's more a team level thing. I would be leaning into either Wright or even Dowdle. It's kind of a reach for Dowdle, but I think he could have a role. Um,
Right? You want to go right over Roshan?
I think I do. Yeah, I think so.
We'll do it. My thing with Roshan is like, so I actually caught my percentage up really quick because I've been drafting him in just about every draft in this 14th round. And lately, my thing is, I didn't draft him at all because I thought it was really, live for Chubb or Dobbins to go there. If they did, I felt like, okay, they're going there literally to be the new him and what I think his role could be. And like, I don't know, like when both of those guys went to the Texans and then, the Broncos or whatever, I was going back and as soon as the Chubb went to the Texans and they were both gone, I was going back and I was watching some Roshan film literally that same night that Chubb made it official with the Texans. And it's like it's almost like the why didn't we take more Barkley in round at the 1-2 turn last year? It's kind of like right in my face. Like,
Hmm.
I clearly envision like not the same players, but basically like the Gibbs Montgomery light between Swift and Roshan. Like, I don't know, unless somebody else gets traded there. He had, I think it was 6 touchdowns last year on very, very limited work in an offense that was just horrible, had multiple play callers over the course of the year.
Hmm.
He's a clearly in my opinion, and a lot of other people I know think the same way, that he's a better pass blocker than Swift. So like, is
He is
there
a
a
good he's a
world
good
where
pass blocker. I remember that from the Texas
so
days for sure.
is there a world where he just is like playing more this year and kind of has that Montgomery role and can give you a few 2 touchdown games throughout the course of the year because that's just his role?
Yeah, I need to do more research on it because that is kind of a ambiguous range right now. I think what it comes down to for me in just a few words is he's never handled a big workload, whether it was college or so far in the NFL. I think Swift can handle a big workload, and then the offense is just not that good. The Bears are not a good
Mhm.
team.
See, I guess I'm a little more in on Ben Johnson's Bears than I guess it sounds like you are. So that probably has something to do with it. I'll finish what I was going to say in a second. We have some of my favorite backup running backs here in this range. I know you liked him a minute ago, and Dowdle's still on the board. We could go
Yeah, I
with
think
him.
Dowdle's a pretty fun pick, really good. And then
Knowles
Noel
hanging
is a fun
around if
pick
we
too.
wanted to do that.
Let's take
I don't
let me
think
take
we need
one
to
last
rush
look
for
at
tight
our
end.
wide receivers. I know that Noel's been falling, but we get the double stack here with both of the Texans rookies. We have one, two, I think so that would be our seventh receiver, three on a bye in week
Mm-hmm.
6. But they're all kind of later picks for us, so it's not the end of the world. We still have our first
Yeah, yeah,
four picks
yeah.
available. I'm down to let's take
Go Noel.
yeah, I think Noel. I think Noel's a decent value there, and we're playing for late season upside. I know you were talking
Mm-hmm.
about Kirk and liking Kirk there too. Um, in this outcome, it's just that Noel is coming on strong at the end of the season, and he's cheap
Well,
enough. This
yeah,
is, this is
and
essentially a freebie, right?
we both know Nico is gonna miss a handful of games with some sort of soft tissue injury, and so that'll definitely open up the door
Don't I
for
know it?
him. Or Kirk. He essentially is Kirk's replacement, and Kirk hasn't been the cleanest bill of health the last few years either. So definitely some possibilities for him to get on the field.
But yeah,
But
so
no, go
back to the
ahead. Sorry.
Roshan pick. I think I need to do some more research on it. I'm not sure yet if it's my favorite pick in this range or if it's just another guy.
That's fair.
I think Dowdle's a very interesting pick. We just saw him handle the rock all year last year for the Cowboys. They ditch him and then they replace him with, Blue, who's an exciting, electric, fast rookie, and then some old veterans, some dusty
Mm-hmm.
guys. But then Dowdle ends
You
up on one of the best run blocking offensive lines in the league.
you
I
want to
think
go with him?
Dowdle is a great contingent play with some standalone value. I'm good to get Dowdle here for sure.
You can take it. But going back real quick, and then we'll leave the Roshan thing alone.
Yeah.
For me, it's just I think I'm a little more in on Johnson and the Bears than you, and it's the guys he's going around. Like, I don't think he's going to be like a league winner by any stretch, but I just look at it like, okay, right. I don't really see Wright having a ton of value myself as long as Achan's healthy. I mean, I guess if they mix him in a whole lot more, maybe like they did Mostert back in the
Yeah, they didn't
day,
use him a lot. It
you
was
know,
kind of underwhelming.
Chubb's not doing nothing as long as Mixon's hurt. I mean, Mixon's healthy, and whereas with Roshan there in the 14th, like I said, I just think he could be almost like we draft our spike week receivers, where like, yeah, a lot of games he's not going to hit our lineup, but maybe 4 or 5 times throughout the year he's going to have a little 12 carries for 50 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns because the Bears were down in the red zone and scored twice with him.
Pick 17, pick 18. It's coming to a close quickly. So far we've got a 3,
Yeah, let's
5,
go over 3,
and 1.
5, 7, 1. We have our
Yeah.
3 quarterbacks locked up with JJ, Stroud, and Tua. The running back room is Gibbs, Aaron Jones, ETN, Jalen Wright, and Dowdle. Receiver room is kind of one of the main strengths with Ladd, Evans, Worthy, Waddle. Then we got Addison, Higgins, and Knoll. TJ Hawkinson. So we need at least one more tight end. Not sure if it's either one tight end, one running back, or 2 tight ends is kind of where
Mm-hmm.
I would go. I don't
Let me
know
see
which
the
way
running
you're
backs again
thinking.
real quick, just so I can kind of think about how we did that. Or the running backs on our team. So we got
My bad.
Gibbs. I know we waited a while after Gibbs. We kind of anchored down with Gibbs, but we took Jones, ETN, Wright, and Dowdle. I think honestly we could be good with those 5. That's just strong enough where I don't feel like we're missing out. I don't know though if there's going to be 2 tight ends that we have to get. So like if we look at the available tight ends, I'm cool with not getting Schultz at all. I don't need Schultz on this team. My favorite available is probably Juwan Johnson, followed by Conklin, followed by JT Sanders, and then it kind of just I'm not crazy about anyone else there. There's some upside guys like a Ferguson on the Rams is kind of fun, but it's a rookie play, and Higbee's still there and looked pretty good during their playoff stretch when he was healthy. Noah Gray was kind of an interesting shout that Danny mentioned last night when Bindles and I were drafting with him. That was interesting. We did take Worthy, so it could be a last round pick for a Noah Gray. I've never really done it, but it could be kind of fun. I think we'll have to look. Yeah, we'll have to look. Maybe we'll queue up Juwan Johnson and then follow that up with.
Let me ask you this: would you be okay with just 2 receivers, or 2 tight ends? Are you kind of
Yeah.
a tight end? Because I'll tell you, one of my favorite clicks on the board is actually still there in Giddens. And we can go ahead and add another running back.
Let's do it.
Just whatever second tight end.
No, I like Giddens. I'm cool to get Giddens there. I think it's a nice piece, another upside running back, and we did kind of wait a little bit at running back. We get a rookie running back that we don't, we sprinkle something in, get a rookie out of this class, this epic running back class, as they're saying. So I'm good. And then there's bound to be a tight end left, and I'm totally good to go.
We're coming right back around in 4 more picks, and I mean, a lot of those guys, Conklin will still be there. You know who I'm starting to get into? Did you hear Harbaugh go off for like 3 minutes straight, like last week, about the Gadsden guy there?
I didn't. I only heard people talking about it. I didn't hear him talk about it, and I haven't seen like the official transcript yet to really make an opinion. But
I mean, it wasn't nothing to like hoot and holler about or nothing,
right.
But it was just kind of interesting. He was like, you could tell he likes the guy, and seems like for a rookie, he's picking things up pretty well, and
It's good. It's good for coaches to like players they draft until the players prove otherwise. So for
sure.
I think it is interesting. He comped him to Darren Waller. If I heard someone say that, maybe. Or maybe it was one of the other coaches, like the tight ends coach or somebody that had some connection to Waller, comped him to there. I will say, if you looked at college football, fantasy football rankings for last season, I think it was whose rankings? I think it was Eric Froton's rankings. There were some people who had college football fantasy rankings out there. I was looking at them, and Gadsden was like the top tight end ranked, if not the second overall. So like he's been a guy that people have been thinking about as a really solid tight end option for a while. So it's interesting. So I'm thinking I like Juwan Johnson a lot. I take him a
I
bunch.
was just
I
about to
take
say he's kind of a steady Eddie since we are only going to be with two.
kind of a steady guy. We've already got the bring back with McConkey, so we don't have to take another Charger just to go Conklin over him. But if for some reason, yeah, so I think we go ahead and just get Juwan Johnson. I'm
Jawan,
cool
I'm
with
good
him.
with that.
I think he's good. I think they'll use him a lot. The Saints offense, they'll rely on him.
Only two tight ends, but hey, what do they say? If you don't feel iffy about a certain part of your team, then you probably didn't build it right. That's what I always hear. Uh, let's
Well,
look
we got
at it. We
Hawkinson, and
finished
we
with the.
stacked him up, and he
Oh
could just
yeah,
be elite this year.
I you. Hey, he is another one of my guys. I got a cut up for him, but my thing with Hawkinson too is like it wasn't that long ago, right? It was literally like the year before he got hurt that he was the tight end one essentially. And so like I'm not saying he's gonna go back to that, but that's kind of I have my reasonings for it, but I am totally out pretty much on McBride. I don't draft McBride at all. I do draft
Yeah,
Bowers, but I'm not like super, super overweight on Bowers or anything. And so that's kind of been my big thing this year is I do try most of the time to get me like either Kittle or Hawkinson because I really feel like those two guys in a playoff scenario, we're talking about a one game to get out of 15 or a one game to get out of 16, or even over the course of those 3 weeks, he's definitely a guy that can come like close enough, if not outscore one of those first two guys to where then it really kind of gives you an advantage because you also got the second round running back or receiver with
exactly.
them now.
I'm pretty
But
much on the same wavelength. I honestly, during the big board season, I was convinced I would be high on elite tight end. I thought I would be 16 to 18% on each of Bowers, McBride, and Kittle. In reality,
mm-hmm,
I'm above the market on Kittle. I'm way below on Bowers and McBride. Just the opportunity cost is kind of keeping me off of them. I don't want to be fully out because Bowers does seem kind of like a slate breaker, and he's just
mm-hmm.
something we've never seen before at the tight end position potentially. At the same time, I do really like these late tight end values, and one of the challenges that I've been like asking for months now is have you ever drafted a tight end room that you didn't like? And I've only done it one time, and it's because I took two rookies late, and I forget who the first one was, but kind of late guy. But like, it's really easy to get starting tight ends in your 18th round pick, like we did with Juwan Johnson, and so it's so
mm-hmm.
easy to make up ground at that position. It almost feels like a given to punt it most of the time.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, for me, there's only my 18th round right now, more times than not, is either yes, I saved it for my last tight end, or even in BBM, I still draft me some Jalen Milrow. I don't know if you've heard my whole spiel on it. There's only certain types of teams that I'll put him on. Don't get me wrong. Like I have a very particular type of team that I like to put him on in regular formats because I just feel like there's no other player that I can draft in the 18th round who gives me that kind of upside if it's a team that he makes sense on. That's just me personally, but more times than not, especially when I'm here on this side, I am trying to get like a Janu or hey, somebody took the Gatson guy I was just talking about. Because yeah, like
That's so
I
funny
try to be done with receiver
in a good
most of
way.
the time by like the end of the 16 if
Yeah,
I can, just because yeah, it gets gross at receiver in 17 and 18 most of the time. I think isn't that where that's where we got Giddens at, but most of the time by early 17th round. Once Lloyd goes, to me, there's not a whole lot I'm excited about at running backs. I'll take Mitchell if I really need a running back still, and Lloyd's gone because normally Giddens goes in front of Lloyd.
yeah, I agree. It makes sense to take the late tight ends for that very reason. Something I heard today, and I don't know if this is like if this is something that everyone's heard already, but I'm curious. JT, did you hear what Cooper Kupp has been saying about Sam Darnold now that they're getting to know each other a little bit better on this Seahawks team?
I don't care. But what is it?
It's not good for Sam Darnold. It is
Oh, okay.
it's bad for Sam Darnold. Cooper
Hey,
Kupp said he's kind of a weirdo. Not the exact quote, but to paraphrase, he says he's terrible at golf and he has the most bland taste profile of any QB he's ever been around. So Cooper Kupp's used to, good quarterbacks that are good at golf and have fine tastes or the finer things in life. And apparently Sam Darnold is just like peanut butter and jelly and can't golf. So I take that for what it's worth. Sometimes you get off the field signals, and being good at golf as a quarterback, I think that matters sometimes when you want it to matter, but other times who cares,
well,
right? But
so my whole thing is this, in a nutshell. I've went on many rants about it, so I'll try to keep it short. But there's just so much against him, right? The last time that we saw Darnold play outdoors in a stadium that's not that great for passing was New York. He was absolutely horrible. Yes, he was really good last year until he turned into a pumpkin again. He also has O'Connell, who managed to make Dobbs look really freaking good for a small stretch of games. He had JJ, the best receiver in football. Say what you want about JSN and Cup. They're not JJ and Addison. Like, they played in a dome. Now he's going to Seattle. You look at their first 7 games, and really, I think New Orleans is the only game in the first 7 that's okay, I could realistically see them winning that game. I don't think Seattle will be that great this year. And
right.
it ends on Monday night against the Texans, week 7, against what should be a stacked, ready to rock on Monday Night Football defense. And I could very easily see them going into their bye week after that week 7 with a 2-5 record. All the fans, all the media is going to be wanting to see what Milroe can do. We drafted him. Y'all said you're high on him. Let's see what he can do, right? And so, my perfect team that I like to put him on is in Superflex, of course, any team. But in a regular style 18-round team is very specific. I like to get him on a team where I have 2 other quarterbacks and their bye weeks are after week 8. That way, it's all right, I got these 2. I got them stacked up. Both of those guys are going to be playing past week 8 when Milroe's bye week is, because I kind of think that's the earliest that we'll see Milroe is week 9. It may take a little longer, but I could realistically see it happen in week 9. So, for me, I'm all right, if I'm wrong about that bet, I still have my other 2 quarterbacks that I drafted kind of earlier. Generally, it'll be somebody like I don't know, like your Trevor Lawrences of the world, that caliber of quarterback. If I have an elite quarterback, I'm not messing around with Milroe, because what do I win when I win, right? I already have Lamar or Allen. I don't need Milroe on that team. But if I have 2 of, that group that starts with Kyler on, if I have 2 of those guys and their bye weeks are past week 8, then that's kind of, to me, the perfect team to let me just use my 18th round pick, throw Milroe on there. If I'm in the playoffs and Milroe's out there running around crazy for Seattle, I'm going to look like a smart guy, and I'm probably going to be loving it.
I think it's a great take. I hadn't thought that through in that capacity yet. I think that's really interesting. I like that you've thought it through about the bye week, the benching, mixing it in with QBs that play into that whole narrative. That's what it's all about. I mean, if you feel strongly about that player and that's your edge, I think in round 18, why not? And then at the end of the season, at the very least, they might be trying to see what they got in this Milroe guy. I think back to that game he played against Georgia.
Uh-huh.
And I'm convinced that game alone, among other things, but that game alone is what guaranteed him getting drafted in the NFL. There's some coach out there, there's some staffer who wrote in his little notepad, we got to get Jalen Milroe after they watched that game live, taking down the Georgia defense the way he did, kind of putting the team on his back. And so that, to me, there's a statement game. There's a few players and a few plays from last year's college season that stand out in that way. And Milroe had one of them. That's probably one of the top 10 performances of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
So I like it. I think he's a guy that who knows? And fantasy is all about finding those quarterbacks that can score above replacement, and sometimes it just takes a guy who can win with his legs, and I think Noro's shown that. So it's a pretty interesting take. I'll have to think about sprinkling him in some of that some of that context with the bye weeks and such. I
Well,
think it's kind of
and
a fun one.
part of why I've been doing it now too is because like I also do see a world where like let's say we get to like mid to late July, camps are going and stuff, and like all it's gonna take is like a couple weeks of some Darnold fudge sprinkled in, and at the same time you have Seattle social media putting out these nice little clips of Milrow doing this and Milrow doing that, and I can see him bumping up out of the 18th round, honestly. You know how us best ball fools are. We will bump somebody up or down in a heartbeat for no reason at all, much less like a running quarterback who Seattle shows some clips of him throwing some nice, well-timed passes. And so, like, if that happens, then okay, that's when I'm like, all right, well, I don't want to draft him in the 16th round, but I had my bags packed in the 18th round, so I can still be good.
Yeah, yeah. There's a few. Um, there's still a few somewhat ambiguous quarterback situations around the
Mhm.
league. Some of them are starting to resolve, whether it's Daniel Jones, the day one starter. It's not officially confirmed yet, but I think I think we as a community, and at least what the ADP shows, is we're starting to lean that way pretty strongly. And maybe you see something even stronger of a signal in these super flex drafts. I'm not really in the super flex streets right now. But do you think it's like, can you tell from the ADP and how people are drafting Daniel Jones there, like the sentiment that like, is it like 90-10 that he's going to be the guy at least to start, or what are you seeing about that?
In Superflex, what was I'm sorry, I was reading some of the chats. You said,
Yeah,
"What is my
yeah, just because
sentiment in
like in
Superflex?"
these best ball manias, Daniel Jones goes late. Anthony
Mhm.
Richardson goes
He's
late or undrafted, but in Superflex they go earlier. So the difference in their ADP and kind of the feeling on like the the way drafters are selecting these players, I think is more exaggerated for quarterback is more exaggerated in Superflex. So like, are they even
he
more willing to take Daniel Jones? And is that level of confidence, something that we can kind of note for the non-Superflex to say, you know what, Daniel Jones is, and it's not just that situation, but like I think of the Browns, I think of potentially I guess the Saints has been resolved, but potentially, I mean, the Steelers has been
Mhm.
resolved, but potentially the Saints is another one where it's like Rattler or Shuck.
Mhm. He goes right there basically, before Rodgers signed and before the AR news, it was kind of in Superflex, your Tua, Cam Ward, and Geno, and I don't count Darnold, but Darnold is always the last of the starting quarterbacks right there. And it's funny now he's all the way up into the 60s. So my friend Mark will remember this. Literally the day of AR's news, my daughters have this like 2-hour soccer thing or whatever that they do 3 days a week. And the day of the AR news, literally I was on my way up to that soccer thing, and I did two Superflex on my phone while I was sitting up there waiting on them, purposely to take advantage of that news because I knew it wouldn't take long for him to get here. And before that, he was going like way back here, like maybe like around Flacco or a little bit
Yeah,
before in the 10th round. And so those two drafts, like I purposely reached for him some and pushed quarterback, but I just reached and got him like I think it was maybe like around pick 90, 89, something like that. And now here we are a couple weeks later, and that still looks like good value, even though at the time it was reaching. But I don't know, it's just something I remembered. But yeah, he's kind of going him and Rogers right now. This is a super flex from the other night. So him and Rogers are going right there at the end of it.
interesting.
Speaking
And
of super flex, I saw somebody asked in the chat another BBM. We're gonna let in a minute, whenever he's ready, my man Candyman get out of here. He's had a long day. He was streaming over on the Fantasy Football Garage before he pulled up over here. I'm sure you guys are already subbed over there, but if you're not, the link is in the description. Monday, him and Bendels do the ballsy. If you haven't missed that, or if you've missed that, go check it out. Those are always some pretty cool shows too. Bindles has some. Is he? I guess is he the one that does all that artwork with the electro cars and all that stuff, or is that you?
Um, Biddles is largely the creative genius behind a
It's
lot of the
really
media and
fucking cool.
content. Yeah,
It is really cool.
it's hardly ever me. It's almost always him. Creative
No,
genius.
I like that with the car going and the little, electro looking stuff or whatever. It's sweet. You got Arnold in the background talking and
Yeah,
stuff. It's awesome.
it's a
It's a
fun
good show
time.
you guys do for
Appreciate
sure.
that. It's fun. It's just about having fun, drafting the teams. It's a vibe, just kind of chilling, something to do on the Monday nights. And yeah, so we've got that show every Monday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. A lot of fun.
So
And then there he is. And then just streaming, just basketball streams
just
all the
kicked me
time.
totally right out. Rookie mistake. Us rookies don't know what we don't know.
Hey,
Famous
it's
Bill
hard it's
O'Brien
hard
quote.
to be live for any given amount of time without something going wrong. That's just how it goes. And
Yeah.
it's I'm really liking the streams you're putting together. In the late night, I can relate to that. That's kind of where I have also been, the late night zone. And so I love seeing you live, what you're drafting, hanging out with everyone and getting involved in the community. I always say the best ball community is the best community in fantasy football. I think it's tight knit. We're a small bunch. We're I think a pretty sharp community. Iron sharpens iron. There's a lot of fantasy content out there, but best ball is just for the select few who are brave enough to draft the team in June that is going to win in January and without any transactions, trades, roster moves. So I think it's fun. It's a strategy game. I think it brings a lot of people into it that like to think really deeply about fantasy football and outcomes and ranges of outcomes
Mhm.
and player takes. And so we get all that together and we just have a good time drafting these teams. And we're all going to lose anyways. But at the same time,
That's
this
right.
game is beatable, they say. So
Somebody's got to win them, right? Might as
somebody's
well
got
be
to win,
one
and
of
these
us.
teams aren't going to draft themselves.
And that's the whole reason I started streaming, it's because like I was like, I thought about it at the end of last year, and then this year I was like, you know what? It was actually, and I reached out to him and told him too. It was actually Pete Overzet, like literally a week before I started streaming. He put out this little article. I think it was this little newsletter or
I
something. And it
remember
was
that.
basically
I read it.
him talking about when he first started streaming 10 years ago or something like that. And he ended it with something like, don't wait, just do it or whatever. And
Yep.
that was like the last little motivation I needed. I was like, you know what? All right, whatever. Like, talked to the wife, had to go buy me a new little laptop and stuff because I had an older one that was fine for what I needed it for, but it wouldn't handle really like streaming and stuff like that. Bought me a little mic, little webcam or whatever, and some lights, and here we are.
And I kind of came to a similar conclusion. The amount of time that I put into my hobbies and the hobbies that I choose, that is more valuable than all these other considerations. Of course, there's with fantasy, there's the bankroll management. There's, do you need to buy a new laptop, like you said, which I've also done pretty recently in the past. All of those things. But at the end of the day, uh, you only have so much time. And so if you really are passionate and really enjoy doing something, then keep doubling down on that. And that's kind of where I land here as well. It's like, I'm going to be drafting these teams. I'm going to be hanging out and talking with the guys in the chat, getting active on Twitter. Might as well go live, do some drafts, and then get that next level of engagement with the community and with all these other great people out here content creating and just drafting live like yourself. So anytime we can connect, it's always a fun time. And thanks again for having me on, JT. We're going to do it again real soon. I know you got big plans this
Oh yeah,
Friday for
time.
kind of a marathon stream for you, right?
Yep, we're gonna start at a very special time. I got it scrolling down there across the bottom, 6 o'clock Central Time. A lot of big guests. Who Hames is coming on there. Meg from the Fantasy Speak Network is gonna be on there.
Great
Hartman's
people,
gonna be on there. Cody from
except for
Off the
him
Schneid is gonna be on there.
and
Who am
him.
I leaving out?
No,
I'm
I'm just
leaving
kidding.
out somebody. And what?
No, I said great people except for him
Uh,
and him.
yeah, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. If any of you guys are streamers and watching this channel, I still have one spot open. I'm working with some people trying to fill the 10 o'clock spot. If you're interested, reach out to me. You know where to find me on Twitter, JT Bestball. Real quick, my man, I forgot to recap our team. I just went and threw
Yeah,
your name on it, and let's go over it real quick. And then I'm going to hop into a 20-second super flex after
perfect.
Chris gets out of here if anybody wants to hop in it. We finished with the 3-6-7-2. I liked the team. It was McCarthy, Stroud, and Tua. Then we had our running backs Gibbs, Jones, ETN, Wright, Dowdle, and my boy Giddens. Wide receiver room is Ladd, Mike Evans, Worthy, Waddle, Addison, Higgins, and Noel. Tight end room, Hawkinson and Jawan Johnson. I mean, we don't have a ton of week 17 bring back, but we have a little bit. And those who know me know that I don't live and die by it. I get it when I can, but I'm more so focused on building team correlation, which I think we did a really nice job of that.
We do have Gibbs for the bring back with the McCarthy triple stack, and then
Yeah. That's
we've
true.
got McConkey for the Stroud double stack, and then we've got Evans for the Tua stack, which actually
I guess
also
you're
right
right. I
there.
guess we have a whole lot more
We got a
than what
whole
I
lot of
originally
correlation.
thought.
Pretty good.
You're right. You're right. I
Sometimes we
don't know what
cook.
I was thinking.
Sometimes it was more about the. You're right. It was more about the team level correlation with this one, but we kind of had set up some really expensive pieces that didn't end up becoming our main stacking partners. They kind of ended up
Hmm.
becoming our bringbacks. So whether we're playing it from the front angle or kind of the back, which I would call this like playing it from those back pieces, like Higgins, Noel,
Yeah.
Waddle, Addison, Hawk. Those are kind of those later draft capital pieces. Sometimes it can always look kind of more appealing to be like, oh well, we had Herbert with McConkey, that's like a front end stack, very appealing. But we played it from a different angle, and I think we got some good values there too. And I like the way that we kind of mind melded and came together and took some different players. Sometimes you don't take some of these players, sometimes I don't take some of these players, and so that can make a really
Yeah.
interesting combo too.
It's fun, and like like I was saying with ETN, I know you probably saw I didn't have any percentage of him, and so you were like, "Are you're out on him, so we won't do him?" But I was like, "Well, no, I actually just kind of changed my stance on him and just hadn't had a chance to draft him yet, so it sounds good."
Definitely. All right,
But
man. Well,
all right, man, we'll let you get out of here. You have a good night. Thanks for coming on. Like you said, definitely do it again sometimes. It kind of
for
works
sure.
out good. You're normally right before me. I'm right after you. So definitely let's get together and do more in the future.
We'll do it again soon. The summer is just getting going. So I'll catch
That's
you
right.
guys in another draft real soon. Have a great night and peace out.
All right, I'm gonna start this 20-second super flex if anybody wants to hop in it with me in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we'll go catch up on the chat. I do apologize. Normally I try to catch up with you guys better than what I was today. But whenever I have a guest on, sometimes we get to talking and it's kind of hard to do. So we're just going to start from the end and go back as far as we can get. Who Hames, thanks for stopping in, my man. I saw you were in here, but just didn't have a chance to get to the chat. This is a 20-second super flex that we're doing now. You're more than welcome to jump in it with this, Jeremy. Charbonnet is going to be a steal in best ball, I think. I like Charbonnet, but I'm also super in on Walker this year. I've talked about it before. Like, I went back and watched some of his 2023 tape because they're going to be running a real similar offense with Kubiak to what they were running in 2023. And I liked what I saw. What I saw with him in 2023 was if you don't just watch a cut up clip, but if you go and watch, like, say, a whole tape against like this team or that team, what you'll see is that like early in the game, Seattle was trying to get Walker to the outside, and it's like he's so quick getting to the outside that then as the game went on, you would see a couple big holes right up the middle open up in that outside zone scheme for the little 1 foot cut back up the middle. And if you watch his 2023 tape, you'll see quite a bit of plays like that where it kind of starts, to one side or the other. Walker puts his foot in the ground and just explodes up the middle. But I'm in on Charbonnet too. I draft them both. Sounds like Troy Horton and Elijah Arroyo will get plenty of run on the back nine if Seattle sucks, and they will. I do agree that Seattle will suck. That's part of my whole Milrow over drafting Milrow play is because I think Darnold will suck and they won't be that good. And at some point, sooner rather than later, they're going to turn it over to the rookie to see what he can do. We have Steve in the draft with us. What's up, Steve-O? I'm going to reach out to you tomorrow, too, about what we had talked about last week. Check and make sure everything's good with you for Thursday. I don't recognize anyone else's name in here off the top of my head, but if you are in here and you're in the chat, let me know. We will be sure to call you out. Steve with another 101. I swear, every other draft, this guy pulls the 101. It's all good, though. We love drafting with you. He started with Josh Allen. Barkley at number 3 in a super flex, followed by Chase at number 4 in a super flex. This is an interesting room already. There goes Hurts and Daniels. Either way, I'm going to get a player I really, really love here. I'm kind of hoping he goes with Burrow because I would love to just take Bijan here. Steve will tell me probably that I should go Burrow, but we're going to take Bijan. I want as much Bijan as I can get this year. We'll grab us some quarterbacks. Seen him sell plenty of passes that would have been easy completions, and Darnold intermediate pass game is choppy. Thank you, by the way, to all you guys who might have came over from Chris's stream tonight. I do appreciate it. Do your boy a favor if you haven't already, hit that like button, sub to the channel. We're streaming 6 nights a week. There'll be some parts during the summer where we actually might get on for a daytime stream here and there when my schedule allows. But most of the time we start around 9:30 or 10 o'clock Central, just depending on 10 o'clock if I don't have anything going on or I don't have a guest on that needed me to bump my time or anything. We can be your nightcap. We'll take you home. We have a lot of good fun here. We draft some best ball teams. We mix it up. We get some eliminators in. We get some super flexes in. Later in the year, I'll be drafting more sprints. I did the little 7 sprint thing. Did you guys draft sprints? I'm going to pass one more time on quarterback, I think. No, not this time. We're going to mix it up. So a lot of times we go with 2 position players. We're going to go Fields. We're going to go Bijan and Fields. I'm really high on Fields this year. If I missed your chat earlier, sorry. We'll just try to keep up with the rest of the chats from this point on. Huhaim said, sometimes you cook, sometimes you get cooked. I thought we did pretty good. Thank you again, Chris, for stopping in tonight. We did appreciate it. We had fun. I think we drafted a good team. It's got a chance. All is right again with Steve. pulling his 101. A lot of times in the second draft of the night, I do like to kick some music on. Turn this down so it's not too loud in you guys' ear. See Steve doing a lot of 3 quarterback starts. Allen Prescott, Drake May. Definitely a pretty dang elite QB room. We're going to hope that our Bijan can help make up for what we from not having the elite room and just try to have a good room. Not sure what I want to do here. There's no rush to really do receivers. Neighbors goes. He probably won't come back. I could either go with like him or him, but the problem with that, probably get one of those guys to come back. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to take London over Collins, even though Collins was the top receiver on the board. Probably won't work out, but our thinking is we're trying to see if we can get Penix to come back, and then we'll have a nice little Penix in London stack if we can. Because picking from the 8 spot, if I grab Penix here at 41, there should be a starting quarterback of some sort other than Sam Darnold, who I don't count, left right there in the 5th. That would give us Fields, if it works out, and Penix stacked with London and Robinson for the very, very interesting team stack in the super flex. But we need the board to work with this a little bit. This guy doesn't have any running backs, so he could very well go running back. The 6 spot drafter, or what is that? The 9 spot. Oh, never mind. Penix went. Oh well, plan abort. We'll figure something else out. Not a big deal. You got to try stuff though, right? If you don't try stuff, we're going to go ahead and grab Bryce because we planned on going 2 quarterbacks with the next 2 picks anyways, because we definitely want 3 quarterbacks that are at least somewhat starters. Kind of goes back to what a friend of the stream, Cody from Off the Schneid, says, if you're afraid of being wrong, you'll never be right. Kind of that same thinking. It would have been nice if we could have got it to work and have like a London Bijan Penix team in the super flex that also had Fields as one of the quarterbacks. Maybe next time. Maybe we'll try it again sometime. Let's see. Steve goes with Higgins and Hall. Nothing wrong with that. Need these guys right here in the early to mid part of this round to play nice for me. So I would really like it if Gino comes back. That's when I feel the best about my teams. I do draft. I almost always get 2 position players in the first 3 rounds, even when I'm drafting up front here. I guess that's the only spot that I sometimes don't. Sometimes if I'm 1 through 4, I'll take the elite, and then either in the second or third round, I'll take a quarterback. But especially from the back end, there goes Geno. We missed out on him. So now I have to ask myself, do I really want to push it a little more and get like Rodgers or Jones? Because we could at least get a stack with. I'm going to do that. I do still want to have some stacks. This is a little more than we would normally push it. But we got Wilson to go with Fields. I felt like Ward wasn't a guy that I necessarily couldn't afford not to pass on, or couldn't afford to pass on. If Geno would have been there, Geno was the pick I wanted. I would have taken Geno over Wilson and just went without the stack. Y'all know we are not taking Sam Darnold. The next play would be to hope Rodgers or possibly even Daniel Jones comes back around to us. Probably, if I have my choice, go with Jones just because I like some of the options later that I can then put with him. I doubt Metcalf would come all the way back. Let's see, what would the next pick be? It'd be 80. But we also want to get back in the running back room right around there. Unless we really push running back. You know what? Let's try it. Why not? He's got the week 5 bye, though. If we can get it in, we're going to go to Jones. Couldn't make up our mind. We went back to Jones. He moves around more than old man Rodgers. We don't know if Rodgers is still good at football. He wasn't that great last year. Fields, Young, and Jones. This is definitely the type of team we'll throw us on some more quarterbacks at some point. If I have 3 guys I feel really, really good about, sometimes I'll leave it at 3. Whenever I have guys like Bryce Young and Daniel Jones with Fields, this is definitely one where we'll take some shots on some backup quarterbacks. We don't need to be in a rush to get any more receivers with London and Wilson. We have Bijan. We'll see what comes back around to us. Probably try to get back in the running back room with at least the next pick, maybe the next 2 picks. I draft some Hunter. I'm on him. You know, he's definitely not a guy that I'm out on. He's definitely not like a super main target of mine. He's kind of, if I remember right off the top of my head, though, right there around the last. I know these ADPs aren't the normal ADPs, but we can still kind of get an idea. Let's see, that's too far down. I scrolled. Yeah, part of why I don't take Hunter that much is because I just really love Giddens. And I feel like I know Moss is there, but I'm not really too worried about Moss. And I try to think, what happens if the starters get hurt? And I feel like if Kyron got hurt, I see it being more of, yes, Hunter is going to become very usable, but probably they have Blake Corum involved a lot more than I think Indy will have, say, Zach Moss involved. I do see a world where if Taylor was hurt, Giddens could just kind of be the dude, and I really like him as a prospect on top of it. And so I almost always, if those two are both there, I said we were going to get in the running back room, but since we have Bryce, I can't lie, Tet is really tempting. It's only my third receiver. You can still put your receivers in the flex last time I checked, so we're going to do it. That at least gives us what should be the main target earner for Carolina, stacked up with Bryce. We need Bryce to be good for this team. But that's my thoughts on Hunter. It's more so how much I like Giddens, and I just see if I ask myself that question, I always try to ask myself the famous what do we win when we win? I think when I win with Giddens, I win in a bigger way than when we win with Hunter. So for me, it's always Giddens over Hunter. Who Hames asked Steve if he's drafted with Sky Trucker on drafters yet. I did some drafters last year. I'm trying to get some drafters minis in. I don't know if I'm going to do any this year. I keep telling y'all, it's true. I'm like a kid in a candy store. All these different contests. I should have came over to Underdog way sooner than what I did. We are on the clock. We're just sitting here talking away. We'll go and click Swift. I needed another running back, and I was just talking with Chris about how I am a little more in on Chicago than I don't know. You guys tell me. Are y'all as out on Chicago as our man Candyman is? He didn't seem really too into Chicago at all. I kind of like Ben Johnson, and I think he's a great offensive mind, and I don't think they're going to be Detroit. And they're not one of the teams that like I'm super targeting. Yes, I know they both have week 5 buys, but we almost got caught talking and not paying attention to our pick. And I knew I wanted to go running back, so I just clicked over and grabbed the first running back whose name I actually like. I'm not really a big Caleb Johnson guy. I'll draft Aaron Jones, but not huge on him. But I like Swift. I like Roshan. I wouldn't probably draft him necessarily on the same team. We're going to have, it's a super flex. We're going to have minimum 6 running backs, with Bijan being my first. Probably could stop at 6 easily. Maybe even 5 if they were stronger, but this might be a team that probably I end up with 6 running backs. So we'll just make sure the other 4 don't have that same bye week. We should be good on that. Let's see. Probably not any quarterbacks we want to mess with right now. We could do that. Probably not any tight ends, except my boy Hawkinson is sitting there. If he comes back, I think the pick here will either be Hawkinson if he holds. Candyman's a hater. I like Chris. I know you're just joking though, but he was hating on you. But I do like the Bears though. I think he's maybe a little more down on the Bears than probably should be if Johnson is really Johnson. There's a couple running backs, and we can get one of them to come back to us. We don't want to take Warren because he has that week 5 bye. So we will go with Hawkinson. You guys already know, if you've been around for a minute, he is a my guy. Yeah, don't pay us any attention. We're just jamming over here to the Hawkinson Rock. See what we want to do here. We can not let Steve have the 1 spot and have a big fall on Cam. So we will do our fellow best ball community a favor and make sure we take him if he's there for us. He's the guy I would take right now if Steve wasn't here. Anyways, if it makes you feel better, Steve. Nice third running back. Fields, Young, and Daniel Jones. Bijan, Swift, and Scatterboo. London, Wilson, and Ted. We have the Wilson with Fields. We have Ted, of course, with Young. We took our boy Hawkinson. What is Steve cooking up over there? We haven't looked at him in a while. I know he has the 3 quarterbacks. Then he went Higgins, Hall, Kamara, and Walker. I'm really in on Walker this year too. I was just saying that earlier. Took Shook, took Pollard, loading up that running back room after taking Higgins. Nothing wrong with that. The man clearly knows what he's doing. I believe it's three finals last year in Superflex. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I think that's what it is. We will be back tomorrow night at our same time, 10 o'clock. We will be here Thursday. I'm not quite sure the time yet. And then Friday, of course, we're starting at 6 p.m. Central Time for the little BBM special. We talked about it earlier. We got the guest on. Several of you guys in here a couple of you guys in here are going to be on it. It's going to be a lot of fun. What's up, Fantasy Dog? We had Chris on earlier. We drafted a pretty good BBM team. He had to go though. It was getting kind of late for him. He was on his channel before he hopped over here on my channel. We're just working through this little super flex here before we call it a night. Let's see. Is there a running back here that we like? Not really. So we're going to go ahead and grab us another receiver. That's 4, but we did it mainly because it stacks. Now we got the team correlation with our first 2 position players in Bijan and London. We got each of our quarterbacks at least skinny stacked. Ted in Wilson's case for sure should be their number 1 target earners. Pittman, we'll see if it's him or Downs, but either way, he's going to be pretty involved. Don't need to go back to tight end for a while, although we could do Warren if we don't see anything else we like, and then potentially even just be done. But we see a couple running backs already on the board that we like. Don't think we're to the point we want to take one of those quarterbacks yet. We need to get some more running backs. This guy's got 4. Maybe he'll go with tight end. Ray Davis is a guy I was kind of hoping falls. He's attached to a really good offense. Could very well have some standalone value. The thing I like about Ray Davis, I know y'all saw in Superflex, my thing's probably not updated. Let me see. If I do this, will that update it? Is that what I got to do? Still trying to figure out the best ball overlay. Sometimes it seems weird like that. See, it's not showing me my Superflex. It's almost like I got to go over and extract the teams whenever I switch tournaments. Do you guys run into that problem? Like we were drafting a BBM, so I had it set up for like all the tournaments just for that style of tournament. And now that I switched over to Superflex, it's like it won't show me my Superflex percentages. But anyways, the whole point was We're in on Davis. The thing, and there it goes. Now it's showing it for me. The thing he showed me last year was that I don't remember which week it was, but there was one particular game where Cook was out and the other guy, Ty Johnson, was out. And like they basically just, all right, all right, Davis, you're the back. Show us what you can do. And I mean, he handled the full game workload pretty much, and actually was really good doing it too. So it's like, all right, I think if Cook was to get hurt, there's big time upside there. But I also think he could end up having, a week or two here or there where he hits your lineup or has a usable week, even without needing an injury. Could do that. What are we in? The 13th round now? Don't really want to go back to tight end yet. Don't really want receivers. We're going to go ahead and get White. You guys know I'm not super into Bucky at his price. If I'm not going to be in on Bucky, kind of seems like taking his backup on a good offense isn't a horrible idea. Okay, that makes me feel better. At least it's not me doing something wrong. I feel like if I'm in the same types of tournaments, then it's fine. But if I try to go like from an eliminator over to a super flex, it's like I always got to go over on a different tab or something and extract it real quick to get it to kind of work right and show me my percentages for that particular team. I think I know what I'm going to do here. With this particular team, we have Fields, Young, and Daniels, and we definitely want some upside QB play, and I don't think he's going to probably make it back to me, or I don't want to risk it because all three of my quarterbacks actually have what I love to see with Milrow, week 9 bye or later, so I'll have all three of those guys. If I'm right about my Milrow bet, especially even if it's just in the playoffs, we kind of got him going against Indy. We got him going against Carolina. Really nice fourth quarterback just to throw on for some late season upside. With Fields, Young, and Jones, like I said, having the bye weeks past week 9 makes me feel pretty good about it. You not into the super flex, Hartman? I kind of been having fun with it. I slowed up. Therefore, there was a couple days where I didn't draft it. It's I wish I could get in maybe some more drafts. Like this week has been crazy busy all during the day. Got crap going on. Definitely during the summertime though. There will be times where I can get in some drafts during the day. We might even pop in for a daytime stream here and there on weeks where things aren't crazy and my girls don't have camps and stuff going on. What else? I think a little more than me. I think I'm at like 30 something, maybe. Uh, no, a little less than that even. This is only my 28th. That's what I was about to say is I don't do a ton of slow drafts. I do slow drafts, but I don't do a ton of them because I wish I could do more. Like I hear people like, "Oh, I just hopped in 50 whatever slow drafts," but one, I'm always really freaking busy during the day, and if I have too many slow drafts going on, uh, hold on, and we'll finish the talk in a minute. Let's make the pick real quick first. We're about to be on the clock. Let's see. I think yeah, We took Swift in that one, so we don't want to do that. Let's go with Mason Taylor as a tight end since we have Fields. That sounds okay to me. And then we don't have to do that. No receivers there that I love. We can just wait and get some receivers a little later too. Since we have Bryce, Dowdle kind of makes sense with this next pick. Anyways, for me in the slow drafts, it's like, you know, like I was saying, I'm always really busy, and then I do a whole lot in the stock market and stuff too. And so I'm constantly like during the day, I got certain things I need to look at and check on and do with that type of stuff that I do. And so if I'm in more than about 10 to 12, maybe 15 at the max, slow drafts at one time, it gets to the point where it's like so frustrating to me when I like wake up and I'm on the clock and like 9 of them that I just start like clicking the next player that I like instead of really, to me, the whole what should be the advantage of a slow draft, right, is you can really plan it out. You can really look at, okay, if I take this pick, how is it going to affect the next 2 picks after that? Or if I'm building it this way, what's going to be around with my next 3 picks to kind of go with this plan that I have? And so that's when I do a slow draft. That's what I want to be able to do. And I just find for me, if I have too many of them going at once, it's a no bueno. It just gets so frustrating that I don't pay it the attention that I should. How much longer will the Schnauzer be open? I'm the same. Can't do slow drafts. Only slows I've done this year were the 7 marathons for the promo. I mean, and it's weird. It's just that fine point for me because I actually don't mind slow drafts as long as I keep it. My real ideal is 10 or less. Like right now, I think I have about 8 or 9 of them queued up, 8 to 12, somewhere in that range. I don't count them, but somewhere in that range I have going right now. And as long as I have about that, then I'm fine. Like I don't ever really feel like it's more work than I can handle, or if I'm busy for a couple hours, it's fine. I just wait till I get a little bit of free time to go mess with it. But if I get too many more than that's when it gets frustrating to me. Hartman thinks that the Schnauzer will fill by next weekend. I have some of them left. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't know if I'll max any particular tournament this year, but we will definitely be drafting teams every night except that Saturday. And then sometimes on Saturday, I end up drafting anyways, just not on stream. But I'm just trying to mix it up. I was saying earlier, I don't think I'm gonna probably do any BBMs on my own throughout the summer when I have guests on and stuff. And of course, this Friday we're gonna be drafting a bunch of them. But just as far as my own, there's other contests that I'd rather play in. Let's look and see what we want to do here with this pick. Jatavian came back to us. We could go ahead and double up Bryce. Just be done at tight end, assuming he doesn't go. That's actually a really nice tight end room for a super flex between Hawkinson, Taylor, and Sanders. All kind of stacked up. I think that's what we want to do. We'll still have 2 picks left. We have our 6 running backs. I think I'm good there. Bijan, Swift, Scat, Ray Davis, Rashard White, and Dowdle. How many? I got 4 receivers, so we want one more receiver at least. We'll probably pass on another backup quarterback and just go ahead and take 2 receivers since I took Wilson in London and Tet, but then we didn't pick again until Pittman. Probably just throw 2 receivers on here who I either like or bring backs or stacks or just players I'm super, super in on. Actually, we have 3 picks left. I counted wrong in my head a minute ago. It's only the 18th that we're in now. Some reason I was thinking I made my 18th pick. So maybe we can go throw one of those true backup type quarterbacks on too. Because we're done at running back. We're done at tight end. I can't stop drafting Keenan Allen, but I better slow down on him at some point because he still doesn't have a team yet. You know what? He doesn't really stack with anything. And I wasn't drafting any DeAndre Hopkins at first. But I don't know, man. I keep saying it. I want as many pieces of the Ravens offense this year as I can have because I just feel like the Ravens are going to be a team on a freaking mission. They were like that last year in some ways, but I talked about it the other night. You know, I really like Monk in their OC. And it's like, for as good as he is, think back to, all the good offensive coordinators, right? It's really into that second and third year that the teams can really start adding, wrinkles on top of wrinkles and kind of, really expand the offense even more because the first year with a new OC, like so much of the time early in training camp and stuff like that is spent on just, the basic installs, the basic playbook. And hey, this is going to be our offense. This is how we're going to run it. During the season, teams aren't really practicing that much. I mean, let's be honest, they get maybe like one day of actual real practice, And yeah, there's wrinkles throughout the season. I'm not saying that. But then generally, it's going into that second year with a good offensive minded head coach, or in this case, offensive coordinator, that like, okay, we can take all that from last year and now we can really start, building even off of that to get layers upon layers to the offense. Lamar, I mean, let's face it, after the last 2 years, coming up short and stuff for the MVP vote. Like their team in general wants to get to a Super Bowl really freaking bad. Like, I don't know. I want as many Ravens as I can get. Hopkins is probably dust, but even a dusty Hopkins can have some nice spike weeks, I think, in that offense. And so he's a guy that I kind of started taking a little bit of here recently. And part of it was the only other receiver I really wanted was Mitchell. And I also felt like he would come back to me, which we got him to do. And then for our last pick, we are just going to throw one of the old dusty backup quarterbacks. My favorite one to probably do, which you can tell by my percentages, is Mariota. Anytime you have a mobile quarterback, and especially a mobile quarterback who's, let's face it, not the biggest, strongest guy, maybe body type wise, like there's always some potential for Daniels to get hurt, even if it's just banged up for a game or two. So as long as he comes back around, we'll take him. It'll end at a 5-6-6-3. We'll see what Steve does down on the other end, and we'll go over his team. We'll call out how we drafted ours, and then we'll go see how I should have drafted mine by looking at his. This guy has 5 quarterbacks, so Mariota's going to come to us. We'll go ahead and throw him on there. As we said, the 5-6-6-3, Fields, Young, and Daniel Jones, they're going to hold it down until after we get through week 8 bye week for Milrow, where then the rookie will come in and give us a fourth QB option to work with. Mariota, if Daniels was to get banged up somewhere along the way. Running back room of Bijan Swift, Cam, Ray Davis, Rashard White, Rico Dowdle. We did what we said after we took the 2 week 5 bye guys. We made sure that the rest of our other 4 running backs did not have that same bye week. So now it's perfectly fine that Bijan and Swift have the same bye. London, Garrett Wilson, Ted Pittman, Hopkins, and Adonai Mitchell for the receiver room, with a nice little tight end room of TJ Hawkinson, Mason Taylor for some upside, Jatavian Sanders. We have Young doubled. We have Daniel Jones doubled. We have Fields doubled. So can't go wrong with that. All 3 of my top quarterbacks are doubled up. I hate it when it does that. All 3 of my top quarterbacks are doubled up. Let's see. Do we have some week 17 stuff? We have a little bit of week 17 stuff with the Seattle and Carolina. Not a whole lot of colors jumping out at me other than that, which is fine. Like I said, I am definitely get my team correlation and get my team stacks first. That's how I try to build my teams. When I see some nice correlation with week 17 along the way, then we will go and get that. Let's see how the man did his. We know he started with the elite QB room: Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, Drake May, Taylor Shuck as a fourth quarterback. Running back room is Hall, Kamara, Walker, Pollard, Jaquez Hunter, and the other Chicago running back that not everybody drafts. Very smart. He's actually not drafted that much at all. Wide receiver room of Higgins, Downs, Myers, Trey Harris, Coleman, Besh, and Dobbs. Zach Ertz, Elijah Arroyo, and Orlando Gatson. I was talking about him during the BBM with Candyman. I'm guessing, Steve, you probably heard the little 3-minute excerpt that Harbaugh went off, just kind of kept talking about him and talking about him and talking about him. How great he was doing as a rookie. Let's see, what kind of, I guess Steve would probably say this isn't his favorite team because there's not a whole lot of stacks. It's a little bit of, what is it, Dallas with Dallas and Washington. Sometimes it's hard though, in the super flex, the way we take all of the quarterbacks so early like that, sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes it's hard to get stacks. I definitely have teams that my quarterbacks don't end up stacked like you would like them to. Allen, even in a regular one, when I take Allen, I don't necessarily worry a whole lot about stacking him, just because you never really know like who it's going to be with him. He can definitely get there on his own. There's definitely a world where you're better off having Allen and getting Allen's points, but then just having the better pick at the spot that his receivers go, because you know he kind of spreads the ball around a lot. It's not really like you can predict where the targets are going to go, and it's not like he has guys that are big time fantasy producers, even though he is. Wuhaim, sorry I missed your comment earlier. Honestly, not sure. Is that you on drafters? Stacks weren't lining up for me with what I was trying to build. And that's what I was saying. Sometimes it happens that way. You know that. You know it better than me. But honestly, I don't worry about stacks near as much in Superflex. Yeah, I mean, I don't worry about it. I do try to get them, when I can still. That one just kind of worked out guess let's go back to mine. That one just kind of worked out really nice. The original plan, of course, was I was seeing if I could get like the Drake London, Bijan, and Penix all together. So when it didn't, I kind of took Bryce and I kind of took Jones, thinking ahead, knowing I wanted to probably try to put Milrow on the team as the fourth quarterback, and then all of my quarterbacks would have the bye weeks, week 9 or later, like I like with Milrow. And then it just kind of worked out, where we got guys. I mean, the Wilson pick was a little past ADP, so was Ted. Pittman, I did, our 5 spots. That's not really a reach, but I did grab him. Mitchell, I got pretty much at ADP. Taylor, I went a little ahead of, but just felt like doing it. And Sanders was pretty much right at ADP. So that's how I like to build when I can correlate them and get them at good values. Of course, I'm not going to go reaching super far and stuff like that just to make it happen. Anyways, yes, it was fun, Steve. Always a pleasure drafting with you guys. I'm going to get out of here for the night. We will be on tomorrow night at the same 10 o'clock time. Hope everybody has a great Wednesday. Talk to y'all guys later.